Thomas and the Connecticut Sun just got eliminated from the playoffs. It's best to inform you all, as I'm sure you haven't watched a game since Caitlin Clark's exit. Newsflash, nobody has. Alyssa Thomas was quick to call out Caitlin Clark and her fans after her win, but she hasn't liked being bantered after her loss to the Lynx. Alyssa Thomas didn't have a game all playoffs under 10 points, but she waited until the most important game of her life for a 7-point masterclass. Alyssa was seen being very frustrated with her team the whole game. Both these photos show Alyssa Thomas displaying poor body language, which fans were not very happy about. I would hate to have Alyssa Thomas on my team. Her body language has been trashed this whole game. The best photo to come out of this game was this. Marina Mabrey, DJ Carrington, and Alyssa Thomas all blaming each other, whilst they were all players who tried to get under Caitlin Clark's skin.
Honestly, it's been a lot of nonsense. I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had her face on a serious matter that happened in this world, and it's unacceptable, honestly.
To make things better, Alyssa Those was seen throwing a big tantrum at DJ Carrington, whilst they found themselves 20 points down in the game. Alyssa Thomas not only took a measly 6 shots tonight, she only got 2 rebounds too. And getting dominated by Fee on the other end, this is as a pitiful performance in an elimination game.
Is Caitlin Clark currently the face of the WNBA? Yes. Do I think if A'ja Wilson dropped a shoe and Caitlin Clark dropped a shoe today at the very same time, that Caitlin Clark would outsell A'ja's shoe by 100 times? Yes, I think that would be the case.
Earlier in the season, Thomas publicly criticized Caitlin Clark's fan base, calling them disrespectful and unruly. According to Thomas, the media attention and hype surrounding Clark were overblown, and she felt the young guard still had plenty to prove in the WNBA. Thomas wasn't shy about letting her opinion be known. In her eyes, Clark had been thrust into the spotlight prematurely, and her fans were getting ahead of themselves in heaping praise on someone who, to Thomas, hadn't earned it yet. However, as the season progressed, those words would come back to haunt her. This tension between Thomas and Clark simmered throughout the season, with Alyssa Thomas consistently downplaying Caitlin Clark's growing list of achievements. Thomas wasn't subtle about her opinions, taking every opportunity to diminish the buzz around Clark, and she wasn't alone. DJ Carrington, her Connecticut Sun teammate, eagerly jumped on the bandwagon. Together, they frequently dismissed Clark's potential, seemingly enjoying the opportunity to knock down a rising star. Caitlin was then able to watch DJ get aggressively fouled, with no decision given. Welcome to Caitlin's world. Who made light of the idea that Clark could ever surpass Thomas in assists for the season, something they both felt was out of reach for the young guard. At one point, Thomas even laughed at the mere notion, confidently joking that Clark would never outdo her in that category. But as we know, the universe loves irony, and things soon took an unexpected turn. As the WNBA playoffs heated up, Connecticut's championship hopes rested on the performance of its veteran leaders. The Sun, to their credit, had staged a remarkable comeback after being down 2-0 in their series against the Minnesota Lynx. With their backs against the wall, they fought their way to a Game 5 decider, putting them just one win away from a spot in the finals.
They lost in the semifinals again. They lost in a Game 5 again. They made it to the finals in 2022, but they have continually come up short. They have continually been a bridesmaid and never the bride. 4 of their 5 starters are free agents going into next season.
But when everything was on the line, the Suns' leader, Alyssa Thomas, faltered. In what was supposed to be her defining moment, Thomas struggled mightily, missing key shots, making questionable decisions, and ultimately failing to deliver the performance her team desperately needed. When the lights are bright, Alyssa Thomas disappeared. Her off night proved costly, as the Suns' season ended in disappointment, and the weight of their loss fell squarely on her shoulders. For a player who spent so much time tearing down others, it was a bitter end to a once promising run.
Alyssa Thomas is one of the most quiet, woman of few words, does not mince her words, lets her game speak for herself type of people you will ever meet. I do think over the course of the year, the players have been saying something needs to stop. We need to show people who we are. We need the commissioner to speak on this, which the WNBA came for a statement, had a statement yesterday, but things just haven't been the way it needed to in sort of setting the tone, especially with this new influx of fans on what we stand for and what we don't. I think Caitlin has used her voice in the ways that she has tried to, but still, it's been falling short.
Fans were furious, and rightfully so. This was supposed to be Connecticut's year. They had the talent, the experience, and all the momentum on their side. The Sun had fought their way back into the series, and many believed they were primed for a championship run. But instead, they watched in disbelief as their star player, Alyssa Thomas, faltered in the spotlight when it mattered most. Connecticut's hopes crumbled as Thomas struggled to find her rhythm, and the team's playoff dreams slipped further away.
Now, Elena Smith for 4 rebounds. That's probably on me. That's on me. I'll say that. But this right here, 7 points in an elimination game?
To make matters worse, the frustration wasn't just showing in their play. During a critical timeout, with the Sun down by 20 points, Alyssa Thomas was seen in a heated argument with Dejounte Carrington. The two teammates, who had spent so much of the season ridiculing Caitlin Clark, were now turning on each other as their season spiraled out of control. And while all this chaos was unfolding on the court, guess who was sitting at home, watching it unfold from the comfort of her couch? That's right, Caitlin Clark. The same Caitlin Clark who had been ridiculed by Thomas and Carrington for months. The same Clark who they claimed would never surpass Thomas. And yet, here she was, having broken the assist record for the season, proving all her doubters wrong. Clark didn't just meet expectations, she obliterated them, all while watching her critics fall apart.
There are very, very few people, but there are some out there who resent the fact that this young white girl came out there and did her thing. Rookie of the year, 4th in the league for MVP voting, assist leader, one of the top leading scorers after the Olympic Games. She put on a show, validating all the attention she was receiving.
To make things even sweeter, Cheryl Swoops, a WNBA legend in her own right, had also chimed in earlier in the season, expressing doubts about Caitlin Clark's ability to break records or lead the league in assists. Swoops believed Clark was talented, but questioned whether she could truly live up to the hype. But as the season unfolded and the dust settled, it became abundantly clear that Clark had not only proven Alyssa Thomas wrong, but had also silenced critics like Swoops, who had underestimated her abilities. Caitlin Clark didn't just meet expectations, she shattered them. Her performance on the court did all the talking, sending a strong message to everyone who doubted her potential.
But if you don't have players around you that can score the basketball, you're not going to get 19 assists.
Clark's impact on the WNBA this season was undeniable, and the league felt her absence in a big way once her team was eliminated from the playoffs. Her presence had been a driving force behind the league's viewership, and without her, the excitement dwindled. Attendance during playoff games hit an all-time low, even during critical semifinal matchups. TV ratings also saw a noticeable drop after Clark was no longer in the mix, highlighting just how much of a draw she had become. The numbers don't lie. Caitlin Clark is the player fans want to see. Her absence left a void in the playoffs that no other star could fill, proving once again that Clark is not just a rising star. She's already the face of the WNBA. It's hard to ignore the shift in energy. The buzz around the playoffs was noticeably missing, and while the WNBA has no shortage of talented players, the absence of Caitlin Clark highlighted just how much she has become the face of the league. the drastic drop in viewership and attendance during the playoffs, even in semifinal games, is a direct reflection of Clark's immense star power and the electrifying presence she brings to the court. Whether fans love her for her undeniable skill or hate her for the attention she garners, one thing is clear. Caitlin Clark is the future of the WNBA, and her impact on the league is already being felt. The fact that the excitement dwindled so sharply without her involvement speaks volumes about her role as the league's most magnetic figure.
For the 2023 season, the WNBA had grown by 40% viewership from 2022 to 2023. But with Caitlin Clark's arrival, it's grown by 400% viewership. What that means is if the WNBA were continue to grow at the rate it grew from 22 to 23, it would take until 2028 to do what Caitlin Clark did this year.
But let's turn the focus back to Alyssa Thomas and the Connecticut Sun. Heading into that decisive Game 5 against the Minnesota Lynx, all eyes were on Thomas to lead her team to the WNBA Finals. This was the moment for her to step up and prove herself on the biggest stage. Instead, Thomas faltered, delivering a subpar performance when her team needed her most. Despite the Suns' valiant effort to come back from a 2-0 deficit in the series, they couldn't seal the deal. They fell short of reaching the finals, and just like that, their season ended in bitter disappointment. Fans were quick to call out Alyssa Thomas for her lackluster performance, and many couldn't help but point out the irony of it all. Throughout the season, Thomas had taken every opportunity to take verbal shots at Caitlin Clark, confidently dismissing her abilities. But when the stakes were highest, in a game that could have propelled the Sun to the WNBA Finals, Thomas herself crumbled. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark was sitting at home, watching it all unfold. The same player who had been mocked and ridiculed by Thomas and Carrington now had the ultimate last laugh. She didn't need to be on the court to emerge victorious in this narrative. Clark, who had already shattered records and silenced her critics with her play throughout the season, was now watching her detractors fall apart. The irony of the Suns' downfall was almost poetic. Thomas and Carrington, who had spent so much time downplaying Clark's rise, were now unraveling while she watched from afar.
There were a lot of people that laid the groundwork that deserve shine as well. Here's what we're going to do.
Are they playing now? Are they playing now?
The final blow to Alyssa Thomas's legacy this season was not just in the loss, but in the manner of her exit. This game was supposed to be her defining moment, where she led the Connecticut Sun to the WNBA Finals and solidified her status as one of the league's best. Instead, Thomas fell flat when the stakes were highest. Her performance was lackluster, riddled with missed opportunities and poor decisions, and her inability to step up when her team needed her most will forever be remembered as the reason the Sun failed to reach the WNBA Finals. Clark didn't need to engage in trash talk or take shots at Thomas to get her revenge. She let her game do all the talking. Clark, who had been ridiculed and dismissed by Thomas earlier in the season, rose above the noise and simply performed when it mattered. As the dust settles on the 2024 WNBA season, one thing is abundantly clear. Caitlin Clark is not just the future of the league. She is the present. Clark has transformed the league, drawing in fans, boosting viewership, and bringing a fresh level of excitement to every game she plays.
Basketball has really consumed my life for a year, so I feel like it'll be good for me to kind of reflect back on everything that's happened. Like, I feel like I didn't even have time to really reflect on my college career because it ended so fast.
The collapse of the Connecticut Sun, contrasted with the rise of Clark, has been one of the most captivating narratives in recent WNBA history. The Sun, led by seasoned veterans like Thomas, were expected to be title contenders, but their downfall in the playoffs has only amplified Clark's success. With every record she breaks and every game she dominates, Clark continues to silence her doubters. As fans look ahead to next season, there's no doubt that Caitlin Clark will once again dominate the headlines, shatter more records, and leave her critics behind. For now, though, she can sit back and enjoy the fact that she got the last laugh in this season's drama. As for Alyssa Thomas and Dejonai Carrington, they'll have to face the bitter reality of a season ending in frustration, arguments, and unmet expectations. While they spent much of their time calling out Clark, it was their own team that fell apart when it mattered most. And Caitlyn? She'll just keep doing what she does best, winning. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. More videos are on screen now.